The Emergency Council. High Counselor Xerx's crystalline form shimmered with anxiety as she called the Galactic Safety Council to order. The vast chamber, normally hosting routine discussions about shipping lanes and cargo regulations, now held representatives from over 500 species. Their collective worry manifested as a low hum that reverberated through the quantum crystal walls. Esteemed colleagues, Xerx began, her translation matrix struggling to maintain composure. We face an unprecedented situation regarding our newest members of the Galactic Commonwealth, the humans. The mention of humans sent ripples of unease through the assembly. A Valaxian diplomat's bioluminescent patterns shifted to deep purple, a clear sign of distress. Several mechanoid representatives audibly recalibrated their emotion processors. 3 standard cycles ago, we welcomed humanity into our ranks, impressed by their rapid technological advancement and apparent adaptability. However, recent observations of their spacecraft operations have raised severe concerns. The holoscreen behind Xerx flickered to life, displaying footage from various human vessels. The first clip showed a human engineer using a plasma torch to cook what they called marshmallows in the engine room. The second featured a crew practicing emergency procedures by turning their ship's artificial gravity on and off, treating it like some sort of recreational activity they termed space parkour. Senior Safety Inspector Zix-427, a being of pure energy contained within a regulatory-approved containment suit, rose from their seat. High Counselor, with all due respect, these must be isolated incidents. No spacefaring species could possibly. Xerx interrupted by playing another clip. This one showed human crew members using a malfunctioning teleporter pad as what they called a random destination roulette game. The chamber erupted in horrified gasps. I assure you, Inspector, these are not isolated incidents. In fact, they represent standard human operational procedures. Xerx's crystalline structure vibrated with concern. What's most disturbing is their safety record. A series of statistics appeared on the holoscreen. Despite what appeared to be blatant disregard for every safety protocol in the galaxy, human vessels boasted the highest survival rates during genuine emergencies. Their success rate in crisis situations exceeded even the methodical mechanoids and the ultra-cautious Valaxians. How? Demanded Ambassador Krell of the Hive Mind Collective, their 1,000 voices speaking as one. How do they achieve such results while treating deadly serious equipment as entertainment devices? First Officer Dr. Lyanna Nash of the Human Diplomatic Corps stood calmly at the center of the chamber, seemingly unperturbed by the growing chaos around her. Her dark skin contrasted with the pristine white of her uniform as she adjusted her glasses, a purely aesthetic choice since corrective surgery had been available for centuries. Distinguished members of the Council, she began, a slight smile playing at her lips. Perhaps I can offer some insight into what you're seeing. The chamber fell silent, every being present leaning forward slightly, desperate to understand the apparent paradox of human spacecraft operation. Humans have a unique approach to danger, Nash continued. We don't fear it. We study it. We play with it. We make it our friend. Every game you've witnessed is also a training exercise. Every seemingly reckless action is a carefully calculated risk that teaches us something new about our equipment and our capabilities. She gestured to the footage still playing behind her. Take the teleporter roulette game. Yes, it's entertainment. But it's also taught our crews more about teleporter mechanics and quick thinking in unexpected situations than any simulation ever could. When real emergencies happen, we're not just prepared. We're comfortable with chaos. The silence in the chamber grew deeper as Nash's words sank in. Xerx's crystalline form shifted through several frequencies of light as she processed this information. But the regulations clearly state, began a mechanoid representative. Regulations are based on known situations. Nash interrupted gently. Space is infinite, which means infinite possibilities for things to go wrong. We believe the best way to prepare is to push boundaries in controlled situations. Yes, we play with our equipment, but we understand it better because of that play. She pointed to the survival statistics still hovering on the holoscreen. These numbers aren't despite our methods, distinguished colleagues. They're because of them. The chamber erupted in overlapping discussions, arguments, and expressions of disbelief. Some representatives were already drafting emergency proposals to ban human vessels from their sectors, while others were secretly requesting human training consultants. Xerix raised all four of her appendages for silence. Dr. Nash, while your explanation is interesting, we cannot simply ignore the apparent safety violations. Therefore, I am proposing a formal investigation. A team of our most experienced safety inspectors will board a human vessel for a thorough evaluation. Nash's smile widened just slightly. We would be honored to host your inspection team aboard the HS Curiosity. Although, she paused, her expression turning thoughtful. I should warn you, we're currently testing some experimental modifications to the artificial gravity system. The crew calls it variable gravity dancing. I'm sure your inspectors will find it most educational. The collective groan of anxiety that rippled through the chamber was interrupted by the unexpected sound of several junior representatives requesting to volunteer for the inspection team. Xerix's crystalline form briefly shifted to a frequency indicating severe processor strain. The investigation of human spacecraft operations was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be quite the same. The investigation. Chief Inspector Vex 882 of the Mechanoid Collective stood at the airlock of the HSS Curiosity, their metallic frame practically vibrating with apprehension. Behind them, Safety Analyst Zara of the Valaxians shifted her bioluminescent patterns to Project Calm, while Energy Specialist Kix of the Quantum Consciousness maintained a strictly professional containment field. Remember, Vex 882 instructed their team. We are here to conduct a thorough, objective evaluation of human safety protocols. No matter what we witness, we must maintain professional. The airlock cycled open to reveal Captain Sarah Chen of the HSS Curiosity, hanging upside down in the corridor, her dark hair defying artificial gravity as she grinned at them. Welcome aboard. Sorry for the unusual greeting. We're testing a localized gravity variance system. Works great for emergency evacuations when the normal gravity fails. The inspection team watched in horror as she executed a perfect flip and landed gracefully on her feet. Don't worry, she added, noticing their reaction. We've only had 3 minor concussions during testing. Much better than last month's numbers. Zara's bioluminescence flickered in what her species recognized as a suppressed scream. Please follow me, Captain Chen continued cheerfully. We'll start with our engine room. Our chief engineer just finished what she calls optional improvements to the matter-antimatter containment field. Says it makes the whole system at least 30% more efficient, though we're still working out why it occasionally creates small temporal anomalies in the break room. As they moved through the corridors, the inspection team noticed several things that made their various sensor systems surge with alarm. Crew members were using magnetic boots to walk on the ceiling, claiming it maximized corridor space efficiency. A group of engineers had transformed a malfunctioning environmental suit into what they called a portable party atmosphere generator. Someone had painted racing stripes on a quantum torpedo. Here we are, Captain Chen announced, leading them into the engine room. Lucy, our guests are here. Chief Engineer Lucy Rodriguez emerged from behind a column of pulsing energy, her dark skin covered in mechanical grease and what appeared to be scorch marks. She wore a helmet that had been modified with what looked suspiciously like disco lights. Oh hey, you're just in time. We're about to test our new emergency core ejection system. Emergency core ejection. Kix's containment field fluctuated with concern. Yeah, Lucy enthused, pulling up a holographic display. See, standard procedure says if the core goes critical, we eject it and get clear. Boring, right? So we figured, why waste all that energy? Now when we eject it, the core gets launched through a series of magnetic acceleration rings. Not only does it clear the ship faster, but we can actually aim it. Great for taking out hostile ships or creating impromptu fireworks displays. VEX 882's logic processors nearly crashed. You weaponized a safety procedure. More like optimized it, Lucy corrected. Watch this. She pressed a button, and a simulation showed the core ejection system in action, complete with what appeared to be a musical accompaniment. We sensed it to play Another One Bites the Dust during the sequence. Helps with timing. The tour continued through various sections of the ship, each revealing more improvements that made the inspection team question their understanding of physics, safety, and sanity. They discovered that the crew had converted the backup life support system into what they called a super-oxygenated party breath enhancer, modified the emergency escape pods to include drift mode for more interesting evacuations, installed a slip and slide in the decontamination chamber, turned the cargo bay into a zero-G basketball court with force field hoops, created a betting pool for predicting random sensor malfunctions. And here's our pride and joy, Captain Chen declared, leading them into a vast chamber, the Holodeck 2.0. This is listed in your manifest as Emergency Training Simulation Room. VEX 882 noted, consulting their datapad. Oh, it is. We just made it more interesting. Instead of running standard emergency scenarios, we randomize everything. Computer, activate training scenario 47B. The room transformed into what appeared to be a combination of a burning engine room, a space pirate boarding party, and what humans called that dance club. Crew members were practicing emergency repairs while dodging holographic pirates and dancing. The dancing helps with coordination, Chen explained. Plus, studies show people respond better to emergencies when they're having fun. Our emergency response times have improved by 43% since we implemented the Crisis Conga Line protocol. Zara's translator struggled to process her response, eventually managing to output. But why? Why not? Chen shrugged. Space is dangerous. We can either fear that danger or learn to dance with it. Speaking of which, want to try our new emergency evacuation slide? We replaced the boring old ladder in Jeffrey's Tube 7 with a corkscrew slide. Cut evacuation time in half. Before the inspection team could respond, a red alert klaxon sounded throughout the ship. Captain Chen's expression shifted from playful to focused in an instant. Well, she said, checking her console, looks like you'll get to see how all our modifications work in a real emergency. We've got a containment breach in the experimental physics lab. Something about a temporary hole in the space-time continuum. Just another Tuesday, really. The inspection team watched in growing horror as the crew rushed to their stations, many of them grinning with what could only be described as inappropriate enthusiasm. Don't worry, Chen assured them, heading for the bridge. This is actually perfect timing for your evaluation. After all, what better way to judge our methods than to see them in action? Lucy, fire up the quantum stabilizer, the one we modified with the motorcycle handlebar controls. As alarms blare and crew members sprinted past them, some sliding along the gravity-defying corridors, others using modified propulsion packs, the inspection team realized their evaluation was about to become far more hands-on than they'd ever anticipated. The incident, the experimental physics lab of the HSS Curiosity, looked like what would happen if a quantum mechanics textbook had a violent disagreement with reality. A swirling vortex of temporal energy pulsed at its center, slowly expanding and consuming everything it touched. The inspection team huddled near the entrance, their various sensor systems screaming warnings in at least 17 different languages. Fascinating. Dr. Meera Patel, the ship's lead physicist, was practically bouncing with excitement as she studied readings on her modified tablet. The quantum harmonics are completely off the charts. Oh, and it's probably going to tear the ship apart in about 15 minutes. Chief Inspector VEX 882's processors struggled to comprehend the humans' enthusiasm for what was clearly a catastrophic event. Shouldn't we be initiating emergency evacuation protocols? Evacuate. Captain Chen grinned as she strode into the lab, now wearing what appeared to be a heavily modified environment suit decorated with lightning bolts. Where's the fun in that? Lucy, status report. Chief Engineer Rodriguez emerged from a maintenance shaft, her disco helmet now supplemented with what looked like gaming controller attachments. Good news and better news, Cap. The good news is I figured out why the temporal vortex is expanding. The better news is I think we can use it to upgrade our engines. The inspection team watched in horror as the two humans high-fived. Standard containment procedures aren't working, Zora noted, her bioluminescence pulsing with panic. The vortex is resistant to conventional quantum barriers. Of course it is, Lucy nodded. That's because we're thinking about this all wrong. Hey Cap, remember that time we modified the gravity generators to create a makeshift surfing simulator in the cargo bay? The one that accidentally created a localized time dilation field. Chen's eyes lit up. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? If we reverse the polarity of the gravity generators and sync them with the beat of another one bites the dust, we could create a resonance cascade that matches the vortex's temporal frequency. Kix's containment field flickered in disbelief. That is not how physics works. Not with that attitude. Dr. Patel chimed in, already typing commands into her console. Lucy, if we route power through the emergency party lighting system, we can modulate the quantum harmonics using the bass beats. Lucy finished. I knew those subwoofers would come in handy for more than just zero-G dance parties. What followed was 10 minutes of what the inspection team could only describe as organized chaos. Crew members slid through gravity-defying corridors carrying modified equipment, shouting physics theories that sounded more like poetry than science, and occasionally breaking into impromptu dance moves as they worked. Lucy had somehow wired a video game controller into the ship's main engineering console, claiming it provided better reaction times in crisis situations. Dr. Patel was using the ship's modified holodeck systems to visualize the quantum fluctuations in what she called disco mode, because it made the patterns easier to recognize. 3 minutes until total structural failure, the ship's AI announced cheerfully, its voice modulated to match the rhythm of the music now pulsing through the emergency broadcast system. Perfect timing. Lucy called out, executing a perfect slide under a beam of temporal energy. Quantum surfing modifications are ready. Dr. P, how's that resonance cascade looking? Harmonics are aligned. Captain, we're ready for the final sequence. Though I should mention this has a 67% chance of either solving the problem or turning the entire ship into a quantum pretzel. Those are better odds than the time we used the teleporter to make instant coffee, Chen shrugged. Hit it. The inspection team watched in amazement as the chaos suddenly synchronized. The pulsing lights, the rhythmic music, and the modified gravity fields all aligned with the temporal vortex. The swirling anomaly began to shift colors, its destructive expansion slowing. Now for the finishing touch. Lucy grinned, pulling out what appeared to be a modified gaming joystick. Time to thread the needle. With movements that looked more like playing a video game than operating advanced spacecraft systems, Lucy guided the resonance field through the quantum harmonics. The vortex began to collapse in on itself, its energy being redirected through the ship's modified systems. Energy conversion at 300% efficiency, Dr. Patil announced. The temporal feedback is actually improving our engine performance. We're going to have to update the physics textbooks again. And Lucy made one final adjustment, her fingers flying over the game controller. Boom. The vortex collapsed with a sound that somehow combined a thunderclap with a victory jingle from an arcade game. Emergency systems returned to normal, though the celebratory music continued to play through the ship's speakers. Captain Chen turned to the inspection team, who had witnessed the entire incident in stunned silence. So, how would you rate our emergency response protocols? VEX 882's vocal processors took 3 attempts to generate a response. You turned a potential catastrophic disaster into a ship upgrade. And we did it with style. Lucy added, executing a perfect zero-G spin in her modified engineering suit. Pretty sure we just invented a new form of quantum propulsion. I'm thinking of calling it the Bass drop drive. But none of this follows any recognized safety procedures. Zora protested, her patterns shifting through colors that indicated both confusion and reluctant admiration. Exactly, Dr. Petal smiled. That's why it worked. Space doesn't read safety manuals, so why should we be limited by them? Now, who wants to help us calibrate the new quantum harmonics? We've modified the holodeck to visualize them as a rhythm game. As the crew began their post-crisis celebrations, which somehow involved both detailed scientific analysis and what they called a quantum victory dance, the inspection team huddled together, trying to process what they had witnessed. We're going to have to completely rewrite our understanding of emergency protocols, aren't we? Kix asked. First, Vex 882 replied, watching as the humans began planning modifications to incorporate their new quantum discoveries into the ship's karaoke system. We're going to have to rewrite our understanding of humans. The report. In a secure conference room aboard the Galactic Safety Council's flagship, 3 very disturbed alien inspectors attempted to compile their report on the HS Curiosity incident. The room's holographic displays showed dozens of video clips, sensor readings, and safety violation citations floating in the air around them. Chief Inspector Vex 882's metallic fingers tapped an erratic pattern on the quantum blast table. How do we even begin to categorize what we witnessed? Their emergency response involved dance music, video game controllers, and something they called quantum surfing. Yet it worked. Zora pointed out, her bioluminescent patterns shifting through shades of confusion. Not only did they prevent a catastrophic breach of spacetime, but they somehow improved their engine efficiency in the process. That's precisely the problem. Kex's energy form flickered with frustration. None of our standard evaluation metrics can account for this. Look at this list of safety violations. The holoscreen displayed a scrolling list that seemed to extend indefinitely. Unauthorized modifications to critical systems, improper use of emergency equipment, integration of entertainment devices into ship controls, recreational activities in restricted areas, deliberate manipulation of safety protocols, converting hazardous situations into training exercises, using quantum physics principles for party effects. And yet, Vex 882's voice carried a note of bewilderment. Their safety record remains impeccable. Computer, display incident resolution statistics for the HSS Curiosity. The data that appeared seemed to defy logic. The Curiosity had faced more potentially catastrophic incidents than any other ship in the fleet, yet had maintained a perfect survival rate, and actually improved its operational efficiency after each crisis. I've been analyzing their training logs, Zora said, pulling up another display. What we initially dismissed as reckless behavior appears to be an elaborate system of practical education. Their gravity surfing competitions have given the crew unprecedented understanding of artificial gravity mechanics. The emergency slide they installed has reduced evacuation times by 48%. Kix moved to the center of the room, their containment field pulsing thoughtfully. Consider their response to the temporal vortex. While we were calculating standard containment procedures, they were already adapting their modifications to address the crisis. They didn't just follow protocols, they innovated in real time. But how do we quantify that in our report? Vex 882 demanded. The Council expects us to evaluate them based on established safety criteria. Instead, we have to explain how they turned a ship-wide emergency into what they called a quantum physics rave party, and why that's apparently a valid crisis response strategy. The inspectors spent several moments in contemplative silence, broken only by the soft hum of Vex 882's processors and the gentle fluctuations of Kix's containment field. Perhaps, Zora ventured, her patterns forming complex theoretical equations. We're approaching this from the wrong angle. Computer, display human historical records regarding space exploration. the holoscreen filled with images and data about humanity's early ventures into space. The inspectors watched in fascination as the pattern emerged. From the first primitive rockets to their current status as a spacefaring civilization, humans had consistently turned limitations into opportunities. Look at this. Zara highlighted several incidents. When their early space stations faced critical failures, they didn't just solve the problems. They developed new technologies from the solutions. They've never viewed safety as just a set of rules to follow. For them, it's an ongoing process of discovery and adaptation. A rather terrifying approach, VEX 882 noted, but undeniably effective. Computer, Kix called out, compile psychological analysis of human crew responses during crisis situations. The data showed something remarkable. During emergencies, human stress levels actually decreased, while problem-solving efficiency increased. Their seemingly chaotic training methods had conditioned them to treat crisis situations as challenges to be embraced, rather than threats to be feared. Their modifications aren't just random acts of recklessness. Zara realized, her patterns brightening with understanding. They're constantly preparing for the unexpected by making the unexpected familiar. Every game, every modification, every violation of standard protocols is actually a form of advanced crisis preparation. So what do we tell the Council? VEX 882 asked. That we should approve their methods because they've essentially weaponized chaos. No, Kix's containment field stabilized as they reached a conclusion. We tell them that humans have developed an entirely new paradigm of spacecraft safety, one that doesn't rely on rigid protocols, but on adaptability, creativity, and intimate familiarity with their technology. They don't just operate their ships, they form relationships with them. The inspectors spent the next several hours crafting their report, trying to explain how a species that treated antimatter containment fields like musical instruments and quantum physics, like a dance party, had somehow achieved the highest safety ratings in the galaxy. Their final recommendation would shock the Council. Instead of restricting human methods, they suggested establishing a cultural exchange program. Other species might not be ready to install emergency party lights or turn their engine rooms into gaming setups, but they could learn from the human approach to crisis management. As they finalized the report, an alert appeared on their screens, a request from the HS Curiosity. Captain Chen was inviting them to witness their latest safety improvement, a zero-G obstacle course designed to teach quantum mechanics through what they called parkour physics. Should we accept? Zara asked, her patterns showing equal parts dread and curiosity. For the sake of thorough investigation, VEX 882 replied, their processors already calculating the probability of surviving another human safety demonstration. We must. Besides, Kix added, their containment field vibrating with what might have been anticipation. I admit I'm curious about how they've incorporated the temporal vortex incident into their karaoke system. The resolution. High Counselor Cyrix's crystalline form cycled through a spectrum of colors that indicated severe cognitive distress as she read the inspection team's report for the fourth time. The grand chamber of the Galactic Safety Council had never been so quiet or so tense. Let me ensure I understand this correctly, she finally said, her translation matrix struggling to maintain composure. You're not recommending restrictions on human vessels. Instead, you're suggesting we learn from them. Chief Inspector VEX 882 stood before the Council, their metallic frame bearing several mysterious scorch marks and what appeared to be leftover holographic glitter from their extended stay on the HS Curiosity. Correct, High Counselor. Our investigation has revealed that human methods, while unconventional, represent a revolutionary approach to spacecraft safety and crisis management. The chamber erupted in a chaos of protests, questions, and what sounded like several species trying to resign their council positions simultaneously. Hydraulic raised all four of her appendages for silence. Please explain, she requested, How turning a quantum physics lab into something called a dance club constitutes a revolutionary approach to safety. Permission to demonstrate. Captain Sarah Chen stepped forward, her pristine uniform now adorned with what she called emergency party lights. The council chambers collectively flinched. During our investigation, Zara interrupted quickly, her bioluminescent patterns forming soothing patterns. We observed the humans respond to 37 potential crisis situations. Their success rate was 100%, with an average response time 43% faster than our best theoretical models. But their methods, a mechanoid representative protested, are precisely why they succeed. Kex's containment field pulsed with conviction. Humans don't just prepare for emergencies, they make friends with chaos itself. Captain Chen activated a holoprojector, displaying footage from the temporal vortex incident. Watch our crew during the crisis, she suggested. Notice anything unusual. The council observed in silence. Despite the imminent threat of their ship being turned into what the humans had termed a quantum pretzel, the crew moved with practiced efficiency, even joy. There, enjoying themselves, Ambassador Krell of the Hive Mind Collective realized, their 1,000 voices harmonizing in disbelief. Exactly. Chen beamed. We've found that treating dangerous situations as challenges to be mastered rather than threats to be feared creates better outcomes. Every game we play, every modification we make, prepares us for the unexpected. By turning their entire ship into what they call a training playground, Vex 882 explained, humans maintain constant readiness for any situation. Their recreational activities double as emergency preparation. Their violations of standard protocols have given them unprecedented understanding of their technology. Consider their response to the temporal vortex, Zara added. They combine their party lighting system with artificial gravity modifications and quantum harmonics to solve a crisis that our standard procedures couldn't address. Their solution wasn't just effective, it advanced our understanding of quantum physics. High Counselor Xerx's crystalline structure vibrated with uncertainty, and you believe other species could benefit from these methods. We're already implementing exchange programs, Chen announced cheerfully. Last week, we had a group of mechanoid engineers join our zero-G maintenance derby. They've since reported a 27% improvement in repair efficiency. Though perhaps, Kex added hastily, noting the Council's collective shudder, we should introduce these concepts gradually. The fundamental principle, Vex 882 continued, is that humans have turned safety from a set of restrictions into an ongoing process of discovery and adaptation. They don't just follow protocols, they constantly evolve them. By treating their ships as living entities to be understood rather than machines to be controlled, Zara explained, humans have achieved a level of operational efficiency that our traditional methods can't match. The council chamber fell into deep discussion, various species debating the implications of the report. Finally, High Counselor Xerx spoke. Captain Chen, the council has one final question. Given your unique approach to spacecraft operation, how do you explain your perfect safety record? Chen smiled, a glint of mischief in her eyes. Simple, really. Space is infinite, which means infinite possibilities for things to go wrong. So we decided to make friends with infinity. Every game we play, every rule we bend, every modification we make, it's all about understanding our ship, our technology, and ourselves better. She gestured to her crew, who had somehow managed to install party lights in the council chamber during the discussion. We don't just survive in space, we thrive in it, and we love to teach others to do the same. Though maybe we'll start with something simple, like our anti-gravity yoga sessions, before introducing the quantum physics karaoke. The council's final resolution was unprecedented. Human